So, welcome to Parenting Secrets to Unlocking Your Athlete's Full Potential in Baseball and Softball. My name is Jermaine Curtis, and I'm going to introduce myself in a second, but I first want to thank you for taking the initiative to giving your kid the best chance of reaching their full potential and reaching their dreams. Let's say that's playing in college or playing professionally. By you getting this information, it's allowing them to have the best opportunity. And I'll explain why in a second. So who am I? First, let me explain who my parents are. They came from very humble beginnings. Let's talk about my dad first. Definitely very humble beginnings. He dropped out of school at third grade to work. He was born in 1947. So that was different times. But yeah, dropped out in third grade to work to provide for the family. And my dad was very kind to everyone, hardworking, blue collar person. He always could fix anything, but he loved fixing cars. And I remember being out there with them, and all I wanted to do was play ball. And he'd be like, hey, you need to learn some other things, and I was just not interested in learning that. But now I wish I would have learned how to, fix a car and do all those things that my dad used to love doing. He started multiple businesses. They failed, but the good thing about my dad, he never took anything hard. He always said, hey, keep a smile and keep moving forward. And he retired as a bus driver. He worked 25 years as a bus driver for MTA in California, retired, did decently well for himself. And he is an introvert. So it's kind of interesting, the relationship, my mom and dad. So on the flip side, my mom was a retired bus driver as well. So that's how they met. They both worked at MTA, and they met there. And my mom's she's an avid reader. She loves reading books. And I think that's where I got my love for reading books and my curiosity from, and it's from my mom. And my mom's the life of the party, definitely an extrovert. It's pretty interesting. We always said, how did my dad and my mom be together? And because they're definitely opposites, and I guess that's true. Opposites do attract. And she also was from very humble beginnings. Okay, so now that you have an idea of my parents, now I want to explain who I am. So my name is Jermaine Curtis, and I grew up from a place 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles. Poor and dangerous community, but we lived in a cul-de-sac, and we tried to, keep ourselves away from, all the things that were going on there. And just like most kids, probably your kid at this age right now, my dream was to play in the MLB. But yeah, my dream was to play in the MLB. And a quick little story, my parents always said that when I was 5 years old, they were watching the game on TV, and I pointed to the TV and said, I wanted to do that. That's a story pretty much every kid has, but they always used to bring that one up, saying, hey, you came in this world, and you knew what you wanted to do at a very, very young age. And so from there, I always had that dream. And on my parents' side, we had, they wanted me to go to college, because in my family, we didn't have many people to go to college. Honestly, we didn't have anyone to go to college, but they wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to have a better life than they did. And throughout that process, my family had several financial issues. I mean, just like the normal family, right, that plays baseball. They are grinding it out, and from us, we didn't come from a background that allow me to do much, but, that didn't stop them from fully supporting me and my dream. And that's probably similar to you. That's why you're reaching out and you're getting this information. And they believed that I had the potential to make my dreams come true, so they invested into me. And again, we had financial issues with the home, cars, but wherever there's a will, there's a way. And the biggest issue for me was there was gangs around. There was always drugs around. There's all kinds of stuff, and we can go into stories about that, but that's not what this is about. But I just wanted to share with you like my environment, and this led me into baseball and wanting to get out. Like that was seeing what was going on in my community that made me drew me closer to my dream, because I didn't want to live that type of lifestyle. And my parents also, they said, hey, you know, you have something good here. Why don't you go for it? You know, and they fully supported me, and it kept me away from all the crime, all the drugs, all the gangs, everything. So I stayed focused on my craft and my dream, and it paid off. You know, I was named the regional player of the year in my county, in my high school. And it has like 1.5 million players in Southern California. So it was a lot of players, and I was the regional player of the year. And then I became MVP of California. So basically what that is they had like a North players, basically Northern California versus Southern California players. And they play a playoff and see who has the best talent. And it's like a showcase in front of scouts. Like this whole place is probably like 100 scouts. So anyways, I got invited. I made the team. You have to try out for it. I made the team. And at the end of it, they choose a North MVP and a South MVP. And then they choose a California MVP. And I won the MVP. And that was like a week before July 1st to my junior year. And then on July 1st, my junior year, more than 50 schools called on that first day. 50 colleges called. And that day was just overwhelming. My phone just kept ringing off the hook the entire day. It was so exciting because, you know, like I said earlier, no one in my family had went to college. And here I am getting a chance to go to college. I'm having options. You know, that was just a super exciting part. 50 schools called, and we're all there together, and everyone's having a blast, and it was an amazing time. So anyways, I ended up committing to UCLA and became the first person in my family to go to college. So, and I'm gonna explain all this later, but you know, that had to do with my parents, you know, and the way they brought me up, and the way that we went about things, and you know, my drive as well, and that was from them. The teachings that they taught me. After that, I was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in 2008, and I made my MLB debut in 2013, 20 years after the TV story when I was 5 years old. 20 years later, I was on TV, and I had to put these numbers right here. You see 17,981st. So that is my number in the MLB. I'm number 17,901 in MLB history out of 18,918 players that played this game. So in 150 years, there's only been 18,918 players that's played in the MLB. And I'm number 17,981. And so I was pumped, so I had to share that information. But that story right there is just crazy, because I called my family. It was like I was in AAA, and I called my dad. My mom and dad had separated, and I called my dad first, and my dad didn't even pick up the phone. I called my mom right after. She didn't pick up the phone. I called my girlfriend. She didn't pick up the phone. So I'm literally walking outside of the of the field right after the game, and I'm calling my friends. They're not picking up. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But yeah, I called everybody, and no one picks up the phone. And then 10 minutes later, I'm still walking around center field like, oh my God, this is happening. Like my dream come true. My childhood dream is about to come true. I'm about to be flying to St. Louis and to play for my first game. And then 10 minutes later, my dad calls me, and I'm like, Dad, pack your bags. And he's like, what? I'm like, pack your bags. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, tomorrow I'm flying to St. Louis. It's going to be my MLB debut. And he's like, you're playing with me. You're playing with me. I was like, nope. We did it. We did it, and sure enough, he was so excited. He was like, no way, no way. And, he flew out, and then my mom called me, and I was like, Mom, pack your bags. Let's go, pack your bags. It's finally came true. Remember that 20 years ago? And she's all like crying on the phone, and it's giving me goosebumps thinking about this story again, and just going through it. It always gives me goosebumps sharing this story. And I called my girlfriend, and she's super excited. And sure enough, the next day, 5 a.m., or 6 a.m., the first flight out, I was flying to St. Louis. And hang with me, guys, with this story. Hang with me. Everything's going to come around. So I apologize for telling so much stories but I'm trying to show you where I came from, how I came from. It's going to all come together as I keep going. So just hang with me. But yeah, so we all fly out, and I get off the plane, and there's people waiting for me. The cameras are all in my face. My whole city starts messaging me, emailing me, find my Twitter handles, my Facebook, my Instagram. Everything's just blowing up. It took me like a month to respond to everybody. I had 350 text messages in one day. It took me a month to respond back to everybody. It was just so crazy. And then my Twitter handle, all the people in my city, because my city is a place where most people don't get out. They usually stay in. So all the people that were, a part of my life in high school and middle school, they all reached out, and, it was just crazy. It was a crazy day. So anyways, to keep it going, in 2013, we went to the World Series, and that was my first year. And we lost to the Boston Red Sox. You guys remember that I'm sure you do. In 2013, Cardinals versus the Red Sox, we lost. And I also played with the Reds, the Twins, and the A's. And all of this happened. The reason why I'm telling this whole story is because all of this happened because of my parents and how they navigated me on this journey. This is not only my story, but past teammates and friends too. So like, it's because my parents, the way they nurtured me on this journey, helped me, instilled the right things inside of me. And it's also not only my story, it's stories of past teammates that played in college, played in pro ball. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this course. It's going to be sharing you things I've pulled from other players. And I'm going to explain more of that. But like, that's just everything. My parents sacrificed. They didn't have much. I was the first to go to college in my family, go to a really good school, UCLA. And, to reward them, I bought them their dream home. I bought them a car, and I take care of them. Unfortunately, my dad passed in 2015. So he didn't see me as I, continue throughout my career. But my mom, I'm taking care of her. And, everything's great, it's the best dream, best life, playing in college, and then going on and reaching your childhood dream. And I wish the same for you and your family, your kid, whatever dreams they have. I wish you guys could go through it. And things I'm going to share with you, I hope, it helps you, inspires you and your family, and it allows you to, get to where you guys want to get to. All right. Now, welcome to Parenting Secrets. Okay. So who is this for? This is for parents who want their kids to be happy and have fun playing this game. In addition, parents who want to give their kids the best chance of reaching their dreams of playing in college and or professionally. And what is Parent Secrets? Well, this is the information I have gathered from MLB and D1 group. I'm part of a group with 13,000 players who've played in MLB or played in the minor leagues or played D1 baseball or D2 or D3, or NAIA. And I'm a part of this group. And so I've asked them questions to get information out of them so that I can make this course the best it could possibly be. And it's also going to have my personal stories. I'm going to share those as well. And I'm going to be interviewing a psychologist at the Penn State Hershey Medical Center who has experience with helping athletes, particularly baseball players, to unleash their full potential. The advice that he would give allowed his son to be recruited to play in college and will soon play pro baseball. So the knowledge you're going to get from this course is, it's going to be value, and it's going to help you because I believe it starts from the parents and it goes down. And so the way you go about things is going to drastically help your kid or not help them. Okay. So we want to, we want to be on the right page. So, and the parents of players whose kids that are having success from the methods I'm going to share with you in this course. So I'm also helping kids or helping parents as well by, mentoring them. And soon, hopefully, I'll have a course, a bigger course that allows, parents to learn this stuff. And I hope to have like a live workshop, like where I can get parents together and other parents to come and talk about their experiences and helping their kids. And, that's the plan, but we'll see what happens. So, and to sum it up in one sentence, Parent Secrets is the blueprint to unlock your kids' full and true potential. So that in one sentence is what this course is about. So why should parents want to learn this information? Well, parents do not understand how much they can affect a player for good and for bad. And, that seems like the issue now that I'm on the other side coaching and helping players get to, and helping players and parents get to where I've been. The parents don't understand how much of an impact they can have on their kid. And just doing little things, which we're going to talk about here in this course, it could hurt their player. By saying certain words, it can hurt their player. So we don't want that to happen. You want to give your kid the best chance to reach his dreams. It's not about you anymore. I'm sorry. I'm being, just blunt, but it's about your kid and it's their dream and their life, and you should support them. So we're going to get more into that, and I'm not calling you out. I don't want you to feel bad about what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, it's about your kid. Okay. And the other reason, and to go on to my point, I've played with and against thousands of talented players, and many of them were successful because their parents allowed them to be. And many were not successful because their parents did not allow them to be. And it had nothing to do with money. It just had to do with the way the parent was going about things. And that's huge. It's really huge. So how did this course come about? Well, I own an online business. It's called Pros Cave Baseball. You see the hat, Pros Cave. And I also have Academy, Jermaine Curtis Academy, as well as Pros Cave Baseball in person as well. And I'll soon have my own facility. It's going to happen. But I end up sitting and talking to parents to help them get the best out of their kids. And the parents recommended this course. They said, hey, you should create a course. You should, help other parents. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to share what I know, and it's going to work out, and it's going to help other people as well. So that's the reason why that I created this course, because it's helping players, because the parents don't understand what they're doing. And then I explain it to them and they change. And then the kid starts getting drastically more results, better results. And there's less pressure and everything. So we're going to get into that. But also because of my parents, and I'll give you a quick little story. I would go, once I went to college, when I went to UCLA, I would come back to my hometown and start going to the little leagues to speak. And, in my area, like I said, there wasn't many people who, I'll just give you a little background in my area, truthfully. So the problem was, I went to my counselor in high school. I'm backtracking a little bit and I'm going to bring you back to the story. But I went to my counselor in 9th grade And I said, hey, what do I need to do to, what college courses do I need to take, or what courses do I need to take so I can get to college? And literally, she looked at me, my counselor looked at me in my face and said, you don't really need to worry about that. From our area, most kids go to a junior college, and, you don't need to worry about taking those classes. And I'm like, yeah, but I think I need to take them because I'm gonna go to college. And she goes, don't worry about that right now. Just, do what you need to do, and we'll get you on track later. Well, I didn't take some of the classes because most people in my area never go to a 4-year. They go to a community college, and then from there they may go to a college, but they may go to a small college, but no one was going to a big time college like what I went to. So 2 years later, I was signed to UCLA, and I went to her office and I was like, hey, or basically I was about to get signed to UCLA, and so I went to her office after I had went to UCLA, and they're like, hey, you need to take your college courses. Like, we don't know if you can get in. You got the next 2 years to figure this out, or you're not going to be able to get in. So then I went back to her and I'm like, hey, you told me that this and this, and now I'm like committed to go to UCLA, but they're scared I'm not getting in because I'm not taking the college the right classes in high school. So my junior and senior year, I was jam-packed with classes. I didn't have a senior year like most people. I was there very early. I was there really late. And I was like on the verge of not getting in because that's the type of environment that I grew up in, where most people don't get out. Most people don't go to college. Even the counselors and the people around don't even believe that you can go to a top tier school. She really apologized. And after, I told her, hey, I'm committed and stuff like that. And she like cried. She was like sad because, I almost did not go to college because of her advice, but everything's fine. But yeah, that was tough. But so bring you back now. Now, we're a little bit more about my area. I'm at UCLA, and it's I come back on the weekend and I speak to the Little League. When they're doing the opening day, I would, they have 600 people there, 700 people there, as many people. And I would speak and I would talk to the kids. And it was crazy that when I would do this, my parents were more of a celebrity than I was. All the parents would rush over, and my parents would be bombarded by parents, and they're just asking them like, what did you do? Like, how did you do this? How did you get your kid to get to this point? Like what is it? What's the secret? And literally my parents were just like answering questions over and over and over. And so that's another reason why I created this course, because, many people are just like, what did you guys do? Like, how did they parent you? So before we go into talking about what to say during post-game talks, I wanted to give you a little insight into the player. So the mindset of a player, well, if your kid is, if you're looking for more information on how your kid can reach their full potential, they more likely have a dream of playing at the highest levels of baseball, college or pro. And when you have a dream like that, you automatically put pressure on yourself because that's just very high expectations. So as a player, you already are, in this mindset of you have to do very well to get those results. So you're already putting pressure on yourself and being hard, The other thing is you start comparing yourself to other players because you're like, oh man, that player got signed to this school. I know I'm better than him. And so that adds more pressure. And, but the mindset of a youth player is that they can control the results. So they put all this pressure on themselves because they're like, oh, I can control the results. I get hits. I get, I gotta get hits. I gotta hit doubles. I gotta I gotta strike them out, and that puts a lot of pressure on them. But as you go up the ladder, you understand that you as a player cannot control the results, but can control the process. And that's the flip side. That how it works at the highest levels. It's all about controlling the process and not the results, because you can't control the results, but you can control the effort and you can control the process. And I say that because that just tells you, about the player and gives you an insight on like what the player is thinking. So what to say post game? So let's say your kid, had a good game or even have a bad game. Like, what do you say? This is very important, because if you don't get this right, you could put more pressure on your kid, and then they start going out to the field and they're trying to get, results that they can't get, or they're putting more pressure on yourself. So your post-game talks are very important. Okay. But the first thing I have to say is that you don't want to have, you don't want this to be you. And I'm going to share with you a little story. A player, in the group, like I said, MLBD1 group, and excuse my language, but this is what he sent to me. And, he said, I had pressure, and I'm going to post this actually. I'm going to post this so that you can see it, and you can read and follow along as well. But he said, I had pressure for sure. Silent car rides when going 0 for. So 0 for means like no hits. 0 for, 0 for 3. So 3 at bats, no hits, or 0 for 4, for no hits. So he says silent car rides when going 0 for, or having a shitty outing. Excuse my words again. He said, paying for all the training and travel they used as leverage to be that way. I played close to a decade of pro ball, and between us, my parents consider my career a failure. Never got a handshake or a nice career. Crickets. I had a blast though, and only feel sorry for them and how they processed everything. We have a good relationship in general, but when it comes to talking about baseball, they can suck my balls. So that should pre-frame you of like what we're going on right now. Like, that's a story from a pro baseball player who played 10 years pro, and also played at D1, and to the parents' side, they were so hard on him that they think his career was a failure. He should have played 20 years, crazy. So I'm going to share more stories, but I'm going to wait until the end. So back to what to say post game. Well, Jim told me says to not say anything at all. And I can understand that can be one of the ways. And if you don't know who Jim Thome is, he's a Hall of Famer, and he has kids, and he said, just don't say anything at all. To me, I don't think that's the best strategy, because what that's going to tell the kid is you're probably going to talk to him when he has good games. And then when he doesn't have a good game, you're going to just be silent. So the kid's going to start understanding that it's bad, like they did bad. And you don't want to, that's my whole premise of this, is that you don't want the kid to feel like they're doing bad, because playing the game is hard. It's very hard. And the higher you go up, it gets harder and harder mentally, physically, and you just can't control what's happening, and so you can control the effort, but you can't control the results. So by being silent, it just says out loud that you sucked, or you did no good, and the kid's gonna feel that, and he's not gonna want to have those rides home. It's gonna be awkward, and it's just not going to be good. So I do not agree with saying that, and I just want to point that out there, because I don't think that that's the right strategy, but I wanted to give you a place to start. So another teammate of mine, past teammate, said what his dad did, and parents did, was first they would comment on the way home. The first comment on the way home is I always loved watching you play. And then the second was, what part or / play of the game was the most fun? And that became its thing from beginning to the end. it was the first comment, hey, I loved watching you play. And then the second time was the second comment was, what was the funnest part of the game? And he said, the first is for your results. The second gets them in the right mindset to what is important. And if you don't say anything, he said the same thing. If you don't say anything when they play bad or lose, it won't take them long to figure it out. The above has worked wonders for me. And he means his family. And because now he's doing that with his kids. So I would say you can do it like this, where you're talking about, hey, I enjoyed watching you play, and what was the most fun part of the game? Because if they're going to have fun, if they remember that, they're going to want to do it more. So whatever was the most fun, that's the one where they're going to get better at. They're going to want to practice more at. So I like this, and now I'm going to share with you what my parents did. So my parents will start off with the bad, but here's the kicker. They never talked about results when speaking to me. So when you're doing this, don't talk about results when speaking to your players. Then they would end off with positive stuff that I did, or, you could say whatever your kid did. So let me say that over. Start off with the bad, but here's the kicker. Never talk about the results when speaking to your players. Then end with all the positive stuff that your kid did. For example, my parents will say, Jermaine, you didn't run hard to first base after your third at bat. When you run hard, it puts pressure on the other team, and they could mess it up, which could start a rally for your team. So it had nothing to do with the results. It was my effort, and that's what you need to understand here. So that relieves the pressure from the player, and, allows them to go out and play the game the right way, allows him to be an athlete, allows them to play. And that's what I did. My games were fun. Games should be fun. Practice should be hard. And so, and we're going to get more into what other things my parents said that they shared with me, and what they did at their games, where they sit. We're going to get more into that. But as you can tell, it wasn't about the results, because they knew if I can control my efforts, if I can do, if they focused on the process, that I would get the results. But if I focused on the results, it would hinder me from getting the results. So like I said right here, I could control running hard to first base and my effort. My parents didn't talk about results because that wasn't in my control. There's 9 guys on that field. They're trying to, and I'm a position player, by the way. Position player. I didn't bring that up earlier, but I'm a position player. So, I hit, play defense. I got to the big leagues playing third, second, short, left field, right field, super utility. But they can control, or I can control my efforts. Couldn't control the results. 9 guys on the field, and their job's to get you out. So your job is to control the effort. And I'll get more into that and explain in a second. So another example would be if I made an error on defense or struck out and put my head down. My parents would say to me, the best players you see on TV do not put their head down after a tough play or a bad outing. And what does that say about you to the other team when you act like this? They literally would say this to me. This is like word for word what they would say to me. And both responses had nothing to do with my performance, but more about the process and the efforts I could control. You see, so think about me going through this whole baseball career, never having any pressure on myself from my parents' side. And that's a lot of the players' stories. And I'm going to show you a statistic actually right now. So I posted in the MLB group, I said, and you can see this right now, how did your parents raise you? And did you have any pressure on yourself, or did you have, did your parents put a lot of pressure on you, or did they put no pressure on you? And so as you can see, 231 people voted. They had no pressure on them. And the parents just let them have fun, and they supported me. And then you'll see 41 that says they were hard on me and put pressure on me. So as you can tell, there is an exception of people, parents that were hard on them and they got them to, reach in their full potential, but majority didn't. So I would go with the math and the statistics rather than go off of, being the exception to the rule. And after pointing out things, so now we're back. So after pointing out things they didn't like, which were focused mainly on my efforts and not my results, both my mom and dad would point out things I did well. For example, obviously, if I did well, they would praise me. But let's say I hit 4 balls hard, but didn't receive positive results. They literally would be excited for me because they knew that if you hit the ball hard consistently and continue to do that, you will get results. I mean, that's the name of the game. Hitting the ball hard, throwing the ball harder, bigger, stronger, faster. If you can do that, you're going to be, in a really great place. Now, if you add the mindset to it, then you're going to be unstoppable in baseball. So you have the physical part, which is the athleticism, and then you have the mental part. And if your kids can acquire both of those, it's over. They can run to the moon. They're going straight up, the mountain. And so one of the things that I asked my mom about, and she said the 5X rule. And she said the goal was if they said 2 things bad about me, they wanted 5X that. So they would say 10 things positive to me. And that's how they ended it. They started off with the bad. And it was all about the efforts. And then they would 5X that. So 10 positive things I did in the game. So my dad literally had a notebook and journal and he would write things down. He would write things down that were positive for the game, so that he can, at the end of the game, my mom and dad could both say it to me, so to, basically do the 5X rule. And also he would write down the bad things that I needed to work on, but he never shared those bad things with me. He only said the bad things as far as the efforts level. But as far as the bad things, we would go and work on and practice from his notebook. So the rides home were like easy as pie. I mean, no stress, fun. I always had a smile, whether I had a good game or bad game. And what that's going to allow you to do is for the kid, and I know in my personal opinion, is that it made me want to keep playing ball. It made me want to practice because I enjoyed playing. The game was fun. And when your kid has fun playing something, they want to keep doing it. I know some of your kids play video games. How long do they play video games for? They probably play for a long time because they're having fun. They want to keep playing it. It becomes addictive. That's how it was for me playing baseball. And many of the kids and many of my past teammates that have played, they became addicted to the game. They became addicted to the sport. They became, that was that adrenaline rush, that high, being out there on the field, playing that game. It was fun. And that's what I want to get across to you is that when you do it this way, you relieve that stress from the player. And, because the player still, he wants to get results. So he's already, a little down, but it allows you, from my point of view, it always felt that my parents had my back. It always felt like they supported me. It always felt like, I can lean on them, I don't know. It's just, I never had pressure on me. So I got to be who I was and I got to maximize my full and true potential. And that's happened to several players. And, I'll get into that in a second. So the conclusion, when you as a parent approach post-game talks this way, it takes the pressure off the player, just like I said, because they do not get caught up in things they cannot control. They build a strong mind and the winner's attitude. See, their mind is strong because what makes players' mind not strong is because they freeze up. They get scared to fail because of the results. They hold themselves back. But when you have a mind like that, when you're not focused on the results, it allows you to go play it allows you to be present And that's like the most important thing. Now that it's hitting them, and like I'm speaking it right now, it allows you to be present. Like if you want to reach your full potential, your kid has to be in the present. They can't be looking over their shoulder at you during a game or worried about the car ride home. They need to be present, because when they're present, then they can give their all. They can focus. But if they're not present, you're just not going to get to maximize your potential. And that's where, when you think in this mindset that I'm sharing with you as a parent, and you're going and you're talking to your kid, they're going to start being in the present. They're not going to be thinking about you and what you think of them. If you're disappointed in them, it's just going to be so much better. It's going to release so much stress. And what's crazy about this is that's going to make their mind stronger, and they're going to get the winner's attitude. And that's what MLB players focus on. They focus on the process. They focus on, the results will come. Everybody wants the results, but the results will come when you're doing the right things right. And just to give you a quick little story, I have a kid named Jonathan, great player, high potential player, parents, amazing parents. Their parents, love the kid, would do anything for him. Yeah, he can play. I think he can play, at a high level, playing in college, maybe even one day play professionally and play in the major leagues. But his dad is old school. So his dad is, reaching out, and basically post-game talks, telling them that you need to produce for the team. You need to hold your weight. Like, you need to do this, you need to get results mentality. Like, just the old school mindset. And just so after each game, he's out there, playing, and then he gets in the car and he's just getting just beaten up by his dad, because he has that old school mentality. Like, you're disappointing me. And so the kid now, he started the year off, beginning of the year, started the year off, and he's just crushing the ball. And he's part of my academy. And yeah, he's crushing the ball. And everything's looking good. And then, he has that one bad game, and, his dad just bam, just beating him up with words and saying, hey, you got to be better. Like, that's not you, just putting all this pressure on him. And then for the rest of the year, he's literally freezing up at the plate. Didn't even want to swing the bat. Like, he's up there. He wants to swing, then he just does it because he's so scared to fail. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, man, what, he's one of my kids I'm doing lessons with. I'm like, what's going on? Like, you got a great swing. You are one of the best players in this area, your age group. Like, what's going on? And I'm like hitting lessons with him. I knew it was his mind. I just couldn't figure out what it was. And then I finally sat down with the parents, because I sit down with my people. I sit down. If you're doing lessons with me, I sit down with you. We talk once every 2 weeks, sometimes, once every 2 weeks. That's a lot. We'll do like once a month, but it was our time to sit down and have that conversation. And, we talked, and that was the question that popped up, the answer. And I was like, oh, I should have known. See, I was so involved in like his mechanics and stuff that I didn't know that the parent was affecting him. And it didn't even dawn on me until we had the conversation. And I was like, no, you can't do that. You can't. You see how you can affect them, like, and he's changed his mentality. I'm talking about the dad. The dad changed the mentality, and boom, kid just starts going off again, and he became, in the present. It took him a little bit of time, because he thought that's what his dad wanted, and he didn't want to disappoint his dad. But yeah, we got him back on track, and we changed the way the actions of the parent, and then the kid just started producing. He went off, and he became the player that he's meant to be, and he might hit a few little bumps here and there in the road, but I think he's going to be fine. So another story, I have a kid named Corey. His dad means very well, loves him. Again, his dad never played. So his dad played soccer, but didn't play baseball or anything. So his dad goes into this with like a different mindset. The kid's really good at his age, very, very young kid. But his dad started with the good and say, hey, you did good, da, da, da. But he always put that but at the end. And then he would say something. And, we had a conversation because, again, I do lessons with them. And I was like, how you're talking post game, like what's going on. And then he starts sharing what he does. And then I was like, you see, you're saying, but just think about that for a minute. Let's say your wife, she says you did good. You cleaned the dishes, but you're just like, what did I do? So all the positive that you may have said does not even go through because they said that, but it's just, humans, we only remember the last thing people say, not like the beginning. So he was like, you're right. You're right. So he changed that up. And sure enough, he said the bad things, but I also told him, don't be saying bad things as for results, say efforts, those things I taught him. And he changed it up where he said the bad first pertain to his efforts. He's a young kid. So that paid dividends. Like the kid's just playing hard. He's running balls out. He's running on and off the field. He just loves the game. He's just showing his heart and he's present. And that's what you want. And the last story I have for you is Gary. And Gary, his dad is, or his mom, I should say, excuse me. So his mom, she's, a single mom. And she's trying to do the best she can for her kid, Gary. And Gary is a really good player. Like I said, he, like the other two stories, has high potential. You give him, a little bit of push and I'm talking about not as far as push as in being hard on him, but push as far as like coaching, and sky's the limit for this kid. Well, the mom, every bad game, she just didn't say anything. And that might sound like the good post, but then I talked to Gary and Gary's like, I had a bad game because I didn't do this right. And I'm like, well, who said that? What is your mom saying? Is she saying that you are struggling, or, is she mad at you because you didn't get results? And he's like, no, well, she just didn't say anything. So I know that she's mad at me because I didn't get good results. So he's taking this really hard on himself. And so I had to talk to her about it. I'm like, hey, just keep talking to him, and point out the positive things he's doing. Let him know that you're on his side, and don't give him, I know you're trying to give him space because he had the game that he didn't want to, he had a bad game or he had a bad outing, but you should be there for him, and you don't have to, you shouldn't just be quiet, because that's louder than speaking. So, and she understood, and sure enough, he went off and he started balling the way he could. So I just want to share a few stories with you, and I'm going to share just a few more because I don't want to take too much time. But let's say this. One of the pro players said, and I'll put this up here. He said, my parents were from Romania, knew nothing about baseball. They pushed soccer and gymnastics at an early age. Once they saw my size and my awfulness at both sports, they cheered me on whether I was 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. They didn't know any different, laughing out loud. Played professionally, also played in college, had a great career. Another one said, I literally never heard a thing after practices or games. Parents were very supportive and let us just play. Another player said, my parents, and this player played in college, he said, my parents never said anything, just supported everything I did. Never felt it was necessary to say anything. Just cheered and ate sunflower seeds. So as you can tell, there was no pressure, and these guys were allowed to play in the present and reach their full potential. So what I recommend parents should say to their athlete post game. Well, in my online coaching program or my Jermaine Curtis Academy, that's where I, do like camps, or baseball clinics, or, just a weekly thing where I coach, or, Pros K baseball where I do lessons. What we give parents is in the academy, we give them a list of things to focus on. And I'm going to list off a few things on that list, but we give them a list. So we have a paper and it's a list of things that they should focus on when the kid's playing in the game. So after the game, you could talk to them about it. And that allows you to, teach the kid what's the importance. And I'm going to explain that in depth in a second, but it teaches them the importance of like what they need to do to get the best out of themselves and be an athlete on the field. I've interviewed more than 50 college coaches, and from UCLA to Miami to the top college coaches. And I asked them, what is the number one thing that you look for in a player? And they say athleticism. So if this list that I'm talking about, it allows you to become that athlete, because when you think about results, you hinder your athleticism because you're thinking about something that you don't have control over. So I'm going to give you a few things that you can start talking to your kid about. And that allows him to frame him like, okay, or her, excuse me, I haven't said her this whole time, but frames her as well to what is right for the athlete so they can get the best out of themselves. And also, like in my one-on-one lessons, I give them a list of the things. Plus, I sit down with them, and they sit down with me once a month. That's the bare minimum. And we talk about, what's been going on, how we've been approaching it. And I sit down with the parents and I talk to them, and it's like a strategy session with them. It allows me to teach them and hear what they're saying so I could understand. Because, I got the players back. If I'm working one-on-one with them, I care for them. I want them to be better. So, they're basically family. So I'm sitting down with the parent because I want to understand what's going on. I'm the third part of that family. So I also try and go watch a game or two. And what that does is that allows me to go out there. The kid gets excited because, a MLB player is watching him, and his coach is watching him. And what I do is I take notes as well, and I give it to the parents and say, hey, this is what you should comment on. And then I tell them what I'm going to comment on as far as like what they did in that game. So there's a few things that, I do, and I'm going to share with you right now, a list of things that you should talk to your kid about. So I believe if you're going to talk to your kid post game, focus on the list below and use tons of positive reinforcement. For example, talk about effort. Effort is being in the moment. You're running hard down the lines. You're stealing second. You're chasing after a ball and you're diving it. That is effort right there. That is being in the moment. That's athleticism. That is being present. Most kids that struggle are not present. They're thinking about something else in the game. So that's the biggest one. You want to talk about their effort. If you see them where, let's say they're playing shortstop or second base, whatever it is, and it's a ball and they don't dive for it, they weren't present at the moment. You're not going to get your full potential because you're not trying to push your boundaries. You're not gonna push. They're not pushing their effort to the max level. So that's very important. Positive body language. Positive body language. It's no secret. If you see a person with his head slumped over and then you see a person that walks around, head high, which one is going to exude, which one's going to get results? You already know the answer to that. Person with, the confidence. And if you look at pro baseball players, everyone's walking with their head high. If you look at college, they're doing the same thing. So no matter, if they fail, no matter, what they're, I'm not saying fail, but let's say they get out or strike out or whatever it is, that positive body language is very important. They should act like nothing is wrong. Even if they're having a bad day, no one should be able to see that they had a bad day or feel that they have a bad day. And that's really important. And positive self-talk. Ask them, what are they saying to themselves out in the field? If they're saying to themselves positive things, they're going to have a positive body language and they're going to get positive results. But if they're saying negative things to themselves on the field, then that's going to limit their, chances of getting the best out of themselves. So that's a very important one. So ask them, hey, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts saying? What are you saying to yourself? Are you saying positive things to yourself? Are you saying, I am the man? I am a great hitter? Ask them about those things. And if they are telling themselves positive things, applaud them for it. Give them a reward, say, yeah, that's awesome. Because if they do say positive things to themselves, they're going to start getting positive results, because, the brain and then the mental side, we're going to go more in depth to this, but the food is for the brain, or the mindset, the mental game. The food for the mental game is positive self-talk. Okay. And if you say positive things to yourself, you're just feeding it nutrients and all the things it needs to work for you, to be the best for you out there on the field. And so that's what you want to do. So talk to your kid about saying positive self-talk and saying positive words to themselves while they're on the field, while they're on defense. Hey, hit the ball to me. I'm going to get you out. I want this ball hit to me. I want to be up at the plate with the runner in scoring position on this tie game. I'm going to crush this fastball. All positive, strong statements, not weak statements. Okay. Not like you need to use I will, I am, those strong statements, strong messages. Okay. A very important one. If you're a hitter, it's hard contact. So talk to them about hitting the ball hard. If they hit the ball hard consistently, they will get results. That is like proven. I mean, you look at the game's getting stronger and stronger. The strongest people usually rise up. I mean, you could read the Outliers book by Malcolm Gladwell, I believe it is. And he talks about outliers and the way, the years that they were born and how they, if you're a baseball player and you're born in like July, then you're going to be stronger, because I think the cutoff date, I can't remember the in-depth, but you can read the book. And I'm sorry if I'm, chopping this up, but if you're born in July, then you repeat the next level, or repeat the same level. Say it's like 12 in Little League. So you're the 13 years old, but you're playing with the 12-year-old. So you're going to be stronger and bigger, which is going to get you more results. And that like keeps going. And they talk about like MLB players, majority of them are in like June, July, August birthdays around that time, because they were the strongest and biggest kids. So I'm saying that's, something completely different. But at the same time, it's like it goes with hard contact. And if you consistently hit the ball hard, you're going to get really good results. So, that's something I always focus on. I never focused on results. I'm like, all right, that's why you're in the cage. You can't see the ball, where the ball's going in the cage. There's no hit or anything. You're working on the process. So if you could do that in the game where you're hitting line drives, where you're, hitting the ball hard, and, you're going to get results. That's the truth. So if you're a pitcher throwing strikes, and especially first pitch strikes as a hitter, I didn't pitch at a high level, but pitching, if a pitcher gets the first pitch strike, it's a drastic decrease of chance that a hitter is going to get a hit. So we want to talk about that. Hey, man, you faced 10 batters and you got 7 out of 10 first pitch strikes. That was amazing. The ERA? Who cares about an ERA when your kid's on travel ball or in Little League? Like, no one cares. Like, no college coach is gonna say, hey, what was your ERA in travel ball? Like, your kid's going to be drastically different in 4 or 5 years. They're going to be completely different. They might be 5'2" right now and then grow to be 6'5". Like things change, so we need to focus on the things that are right. And, those are going to, those things are going to carry over and get you really, really good results and allow your kid to reach their full potential. Say another one. And when it comes to pitching, Is your kid inducing ground balls? The higher you go up, the infield gets better and better. The defense gets better and better. So they're going to catch those balls. So can your kid induce ground balls? Can they create ground balls? And let's say another one is ready to hit. Are they ready to hit when they step into their batter's box? Are they the aggressor, or are they passive aggressive? You know, we need to know that. Are they ready to hit? If it's not there and they take it, that's fine. But are they ready to hit? You know, that's something you need to talk about and say, hey, that's what I would talk about. Hey, you look ready to hit, man. I like that. That was awesome. Or ready to make a play. Are they on defense and they're in the game? They're present. They're ready to go dive and get dirty. That's stuff you need to reward and talk about. And last one is being aggressive. Even if they made an error or got out, or were they aggressive on that? If they're hitting and it was pitched right there, did they go for it? Are they, they're fearless up there? Or pitching as well. Are they aggressive? Are they attacking the zone? You reward them for that. You talk to them about those things, because those efforts will allow them to be present in the game and play to their full potential. There's no results. The weight is going to be lifted off their shoulders, and they just could go out and play. And that's what you want. You want them to play. So I would advise you to go out and make a list, and during the game, in a journal or notebook. And when the game ends, talk to them about those things. Make those things important and focus. Don't be thinking about the results. You can't control the results. Like wherever the ball, like all you can do is hit the ball, and wherever, whatever, baseball gods or your God or, whatever you believe in happens after that, it just happens. But you don't control the results. So that's what I think you should do. And that's going to help you a ton. This helped me, and it's helping my kids as well that are, that are part of me, and I'm allowing them, or they're allowing me to be a part of their family.